Real life. After 80. Embracing the brutal realities of aging and loneliness. I've lived through decades of change, moments of joy, triumph, loss, and quiet reflection. As time moves on, so does the journey of growing older, and with it comes a harsh reality that none of us can escape, the overwhelming loneliness that often accompanies old age. For many of us who are in our 80s or beyond, this loneliness can feel suffocating, even in the middle of a crowded room. It's a truth that isn't often spoken about, but it's one that affects us deeply. Loneliness doesn't come just because we're physically alone, it's much deeper than that. It's the kind of loneliness that creeps in when you've outlived friends, when family members become so busy with their own lives that they forget to call. It's the silence that fills the space where laughter used to be, and the fear that sets in when you realize that for all your years of wisdom, there are parts of you that still long for connection, for closeness, for a simple conversation that matters. But here's the truth. This loneliness, though it can feel like an insurmountable mountain, doesn't define us. It's just one part of the journey. Aging, in its own way, brings wisdom that we may not have fully realized when we were younger. We may no longer be able to run as fast, speak as loudly, or have the same physical energy, but there is something profoundly powerful about our experiences, something that the world needs to hear and understand. Yes, loneliness is real, but so is the strength to face it head-on. I want to talk to you about the 7 brutal realities of aging and loneliness that we must all understand, not just as a way to prepare for them, but as a way to accept them and find peace within them. For too long, society has shied away from the darker truths of growing old. We're encouraged to put on a brave face, to keep going, to be strong. But what if strength also means being vulnerable? What if facing the truth of our loneliness, rather than denying it, is the key to reclaiming our power? When we reach this stage in life, it's easy to feel like an outsider. The world has moved on, people are caught up in their busy routines, and the faces of our past are slowly fading from our lives. We might find ourselves questioning our place in a world that feels like it has no room for us anymore. But let me tell you, there is still room. There is still beauty in these years. Even the harshest truths of aging, those moments when we feel the weight of time bearing down on us, hold the potential for growth, connection, and unexpected joy. The next few minutes are not just for you to hear about these brutal realities, but to understand that they are not the end of the road. Rather, they are part of the path we walk. Each reality, each challenge, is an invitation to learn, to adapt, and to come to terms with the fact that while we cannot stop time, we can control how we live within it. If you've ever felt forgotten, unheard, or isolated, you're not alone. If you've ever wondered whether the best years of your life are behind you, let me tell you, there's still plenty of life left to be lived. These are the truths we often keep hidden, but they are truths that, when faced, give us the chance to stand taller, to love deeper, and to embrace the wisdom that comes with living through it all. Let's talk about those 7 brutal realities, not as something to dread, but as something to learn from, so that we can face them with the courage and clarity that comes only from living a full life. Together, we will unravel the truth about loneliness, aging, and ultimately, the strength that lies within all of us, no matter how many candles are on our birthday cake. Let's begin this journey together. Part 1. The silence of the empty house. When you reach a certain age, something happens to the spaces we once filled with love, laughter, and the hum of daily life. The house that once echoed with the chatter of children, the laughter of loved ones, and the warmth of family dinners now seems to fall into a kind of quiet that's almost too loud. The silence becomes a constant companion. It fills the rooms, it seeps into the corners, and it has a way of magnifying the emptiness left behind by those who have passed on or moved away. You might still have the furniture, the decorations, the photographs, but those things can no longer replace the life that used to occupy them. It's hard to explain the feeling of walking through a house that feels just a little too big for one person. The stillness seems to linger in the air, and every room you enter feels like a memory waiting to be relived, but without the warmth of those who shared it with you. If you've lost a spouse or close family members, this silence is even more pronounced. It can be suffocating at times, and it's the kind of silence that feels like it's closing in around you. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the absence of life, of connection. For many of us, the hardest part isn't just the empty space, but what it represents, the passing of time, the loss of relationships, and the realization that our days of companionship are becoming fewer. The silence often speaks louder than anything else. You're left with your own thoughts, your own company, and the sometimes unsettling awareness that, in a world that's constantly moving forward, you may feel like you're standing still. But here's something important to remember. This silence doesn't mean your life is over. It doesn't mean you're invisible or that your purpose has vanished. It's simply a shift in the rhythm of your life. When we lose the people we love, we're faced with the painful reality that those connections were not permanent. But that doesn't mean they weren't meaningful. The love, the joy, the laughter you shared with those people doesn't just disappear because the house is empty. It lives on inside of you. The challenge here is learning how to navigate that silence, not as something to fear, but as something to understand. It's a space that can be filled with new rhythms, your own rhythm. It's in the quiet that we often find clarity. It's in the silence that we have the opportunity to connect with ourselves, to reflect on the life we've lived, and to begin to see the beauty in the moments that still lie ahead. Yes, it may feel lonely at times, but it's also a chance to rebuild in a way that's entirely your own. If the silence feels too heavy, remember that you don't have to bear it alone. It's okay to seek out new experiences, new connections, and new forms of joy. Filling the silence doesn't mean replacing what's been lost. It's about finding new ways to engage with life, whether it's through a new hobby, a community group, or a regular phone call with someone who cares. You have the power to reshape the space around you. The silence doesn't have to define you. You can still fill it with meaning, with creativity, and most importantly, with love. Part 2. The changing faces of friendship. As we grow older, one of the most striking changes we face is the shifting nature of our friendships. It's an undeniable truth. As time passes, we often find that the friends we once counted on, those we shared life's ups and downs with, are no longer there for one reason or another. Some have passed away, others may have moved far away, and sometimes life just takes us on different paths. For many of us, the friends we grew up with, or those we spent years alongside, slowly fade from our lives. This can leave us feeling lost and uncertain. If you're like me, you may have spent years surrounded by close companions, people who understood your quirks, your stories, your joys. And then, suddenly, those bonds begin to loosen, and it's like walking through a fog, unsure where you stand or how to rebuild those connections. The loneliness that comes from this loss isn't just about being physically alone. It's the sense that the world around you is changing and you're struggling to keep up. The most difficult part of this reality isn't just the absence of friends, but the realization that it's harder to make new ones. There's a certain level of vulnerability required when it comes to forming new friendships at any age, but when you're older, it can feel even more daunting. How do you meet new people when you don't have the same social circles you once had? How do you trust again when you've lost so many dear friends? The idea of opening up to someone new can feel intimidating, and it's easy to retreat into ourselves, believing that we no longer have a place in the world of new friendships. But here's the truth we need to accept. It's never too late to form new connections, and friendship is still possible at any stage of life. The key is understanding that the friendships you make in your 80s or beyond may look different than those you made when you were younger, but they can still be just as meaningful. Sometimes the new friends we meet in our later years are people who bring different perspectives, people who may surprise us with their warmth and understanding. Making new friends in old age requires a certain openness, a willingness to put yourself out there, even if it feels uncomfortable. It may not come as easily as it did when we were younger, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Perhaps it's a neighbor you've spoken to a few times, or a fellow member of a community group. Maybe it's someone you've met at a local coffee shop or at a church gathering. Small steps like these can lead to deep, fulfilling connections that combat the isolation we sometimes feel. And don't forget, there are always other ways to engage with the world. Volunteering can be an incredibly rewarding way to form bonds with others while also giving back. Even joining an online group based on a hobby or interest can create opportunities for connection and understanding. These relationships may start small, but over time, they can grow into something meaningful. Friendship isn't about quantity, it's about quality. It's not about having dozens of people to rely on. It's about having a few genuine connections that bring joy, laughter, and support. So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to let people into your world. Your wisdom, your stories, and your experiences are valuable to those who are still seeking the kind of friendship that only someone with your history can offer. Never underestimate the power of a conversation or the simple act of sharing your time with someone else. Friendship, no matter how late in life it comes, is still worth the effort. Part 3. The dread of declining health. As the years pass, one reality we cannot escape is the inevitable decline in our physical health. It's a truth that becomes more evident as we reach our 80s and beyond. We no longer wake up with the same vitality, strength, and energy we had in our younger years. Our bodies change, sometimes in ways we didn't anticipate, sometimes in ways that feel frustrating, and often in ways that make us confront the loss of independence. It's difficult to watch the body that once served you so well slowly start to betray you. It's hard to accept the idea that something as simple as getting out of bed or walking across the room might become a struggle. Many of us, as we age, develop chronic conditions, arthritis, heart disease, or perhaps a respiratory issue that become a part of our everyday life. We may find ourselves with more doctor's appointments than we ever thought we'd need, and more medications than we ever imagined. The body can feel like an enemy at times, something that once worked in harmony with us now working against us. But the worst part, perhaps, is the emotional toll that declining health takes on us. There's a deep frustration in realizing that you can no longer do the things you used to do with ease. You might feel embarrassed asking for help, as if it's a sign of weakness or failure. There's an internal battle that takes place between pride and the reality of needing assistance. This can be especially painful for those who spent much of their life taking care of others, providing for their family, or living an active, independent lifestyle. The loss of independence doesn't just feel physical. It feels like a loss of identity, too. There's also a sense of urgency that comes with aging. Time becomes even more precious when our bodies are no longer as reliable as they once were. You may start to question how much time you have left, how much more you'll be able to do, and whether you'll be able to leave behind a legacy that reflects the life you lived. These questions are natural, and they are part of the human condition as we face our own mortality. But here's the truth. Your worth is not defined by your physical ability, nor by the limitations you face due to health. It's essential to find peace with the fact that our bodies change. The focus shouldn't just be on what we can't do, but on what we can still do. Maybe you can't run a marathon, but you can enjoy a leisurely walk around the park. Maybe you can't lift heavy weights, but you can practice yoga or gentle stretching that keeps your body moving in ways that feel good. The key is finding new ways to embrace life and your body's current capabilities. Another truth is that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. It's about recognizing that we all need others to get through this life. Whether it's relying on a caregiver, a family member, or a close friend, it's okay to lean on others. You've given to others for so long. Now it's time to let them give back. It doesn't make you any less of a person. It makes you human. Letting others help you doesn't diminish your independence. Instead, it allows you to maintain a sense of dignity and quality of life. And perhaps most importantly, remember that even in the face of declining health, you are still more than just your body. You're a lifetime of experiences, lessons, wisdom, and love. Your body may not be what it once was, but your spirit, your essence, is as strong as ever. Take each day at a time. Celebrate the small victories, whether it's managing to go to the grocery store on your own or simply taking a deep breath and being present. Aging with health challenges is not about what's lost. It's about what remains and how you can still make the most of every precious moment. Part 4. The Shadow of Regret and the Weight of Time. As we age, there's a peculiar thing that happens. We begin to look back over our lives, sometimes with gratitude, other times with sorrow. We reflect on the choices we made, the paths we took, and the opportunities we let slip through our fingers. For many of us, there are things we wish we had done differently, and those unfulfilled dreams or missed chances become harder to ignore as the years go on. Regret becomes an unwelcome companion, reminding us of the time we can never get back. It's natural to look back and wonder, what if? What if I had taken that trip? What if I had followed my passion instead of choosing the safer route? What if I had spent more time with the people I loved? These thoughts can be heavy, and they can bring with them a sense of sadness or guilt. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that your life didn't measure up to what you expected or what others expected of you. It's easy to feel like you're running out of time to do everything you hoped for. But here's the truth. Your life is not defined by what you didn't do. It's defined by what you did do. All the moments you lived, all the experiences you had, all the love you gave, and all the wisdom you've accumulated over the years. These things matter far more than any missed opportunity or regret. Life is a collection of imperfect moments, and it's the imperfections that make it uniquely yours. Every choice, every mistake, and every triumph has led you to this point, and that, in itself, is something to be proud of. One of the most powerful things we can do in our later years is to make peace with our past. Regret doesn't serve us. It only holds us back from embracing the present and looking forward to what's still ahead. We can't change the past, but we can change the way we perceive it. If there are things you wish you had done, why not start now? It's never too late to go after something that brings you joy. Maybe it's taking up an old hobby, traveling to a place you've always wanted to see, or even just reconnecting with someone you've lost touch with. But more importantly, let go of the need for perfection. Life is not about checking off every box on a list. It's about the journey itself. And if the journey has been filled with love, learning, and growth, then it has been a life well lived. The weight of time is a heavy thing, but it also gives us a gift, the ability to look back and truly appreciate what we've done. Each of us has left a mark on this world, whether we realize it or not. We've impacted others, and we've made a difference in ways that can't always be measured. Instead of focusing on what wasn't accomplished, focus on what was. And with whatever time you have left, choose to live with intention, joy, and acceptance. Your story isn't over yet, and it's never too late to write the next chapter. Part 5. The discomfort of being a burden. As we grow older, one of the most painful and complex emotions we face is the fear of becoming a burden. We were once the caretakers, the ones who looked after others, guided them through their struggles, and made sure that those we loved were taken care of. But as time moves on, it's hard to ignore the fact that roles begin to reverse. Our children, our friends, our loved ones may become the ones who take care of us.
At first, it can feel like a small inconvenience. Maybe you need a little help with grocery shopping or a ride to the doctor's office. But as your health declines or your independence fades, these small requests may grow into bigger needs. Soon, you're relying on others for more than just the occasional favor. You may need help getting out of bed or assistance in maintaining personal hygiene or a caregiver to help with daily tasks. It's a slow process, but it's inevitable for many of us, and it brings with it a deep sense of vulnerability. The feeling of being a burden can be overwhelming. It's not just about needing physical help, it's the emotional weight of relying on others, sometimes when you feel you shouldn't. There's often an unspoken fear that you are taking too much from those around you, that you are draining them of their time, energy, and resources. This guilt can be suffocating. You might find yourself hesitating to ask for help, even when you truly need it, because you don't want to feel like you're imposing on others. But here's the harsh truth. We all need help at different times in our lives, and asking for it doesn't make you any less valuable. It doesn't diminish your worth, nor does it erase the countless years you spent caring for others. In fact, needing help can strengthen the bonds between you and the people who love you. It's a shared experience of love, vulnerability, and trust. The truth is, your family and friends want to be there for you, just as you would want to be there for them. They aren't helping you out of obligation, they're helping because they care. One of the greatest acts of love is allowing others to care for us when we need it most. It's okay to admit that you need help. It doesn't take away your dignity. It simply reminds us all that we're human. The roles of caregiver and recipient shift, but the love between people remains unchanged. Your worth isn't tied to your independence, nor is it tied to how much you can do for others. It's tied to the love and connections you've nurtured over your lifetime. And those bonds will never be broken, simply because you need a little extra care. If you ever find yourself feeling guilty or anxious about being a burden, try to remember the larger picture. Those who love you are more than willing to support you through this stage of life, just as you supported them through theirs. And remember, the ability to accept help is also a form of strength. It shows wisdom, resilience, and grace. It means you're not afraid to face the realities of aging with courage and to acknowledge that life is not about doing everything alone. It's about leaning on one another, offering support, and creating deeper, more meaningful connections in the process. Part 6. The fear of being forgotten. There's a certain kind of fear that creeps in as the years pass by. A fear that's not often discussed, but quietly experienced by many. The fear of being forgotten. When we're younger, we're often the center of attention. We have families who need us, friends who rely on us, and colleagues who see us as valuable members of society. But as we age, those roles begin to fade. The children grow up and become consumed with their own lives. Friends move away, or they pass on. The world seems to move forward, leaving us behind. The fear of being forgotten is something that can feel almost paralyzing. We start to wonder, when we're gone, will anyone remember us? Will the lives we touched, the lessons we taught, and the love we gave be lost in time? It's a deep, existential fear, and one that is all too common for those who are aging. We fear that we won't leave a legacy, that we'll slip away quietly, unnoticed. We wonder if we've made a difference in the world, or if our lives will be reduced to just a memory of a name on a gravestone. This fear can lead to feelings of insignificance, making us feel as though we've missed our chance to matter. But here's something important to remember. You are never truly forgotten. Even in our later years, the love and wisdom we share with those around us leave an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of others. The simple conversations, the kindnesses, the stories we tell, all of these things shape the world in ways we can't always see. Even if our names don't echo in the halls of history, they live on in the people who remember us. The lessons we've imparted, the love we've shown, the guidance we've offered, they shape the future, even if it's in small, personal ways. The truth is, our legacy isn't always about grand accomplishments or widespread recognition. It's about the people we've touched, the love we've given, and the impact we've made in the quiet, everyday moments of life. You may not be as visible as you once were, but your presence is still felt. Whether it's a grandchild who remembers the sound of your laugh, a friend who cherishes the wisdom you shared, or a neighbor who will always think of you as someone who cared, your life matters. You are never truly forgotten as long as someone carries a piece of you with them. In the end, the fear of being forgotten is often more about wanting to feel validated than about being erased from the world. We want to know that our existence had meaning, that we weren't just passing through without leaving a trace. The key to easing this fear is remembering that the moments we share with others, however small they may seem, carry more weight than we often realize. The simple act of living with love, kindness, and authenticity ensures that we leave an imprint on the world no matter how quiet it may be. So, rather than worrying about being forgotten, focus on the connections you still have. Continue to share your wisdom, your love, and your story. Those moments will remain in the hearts of those who know you, and your legacy will live on in ways that far outlast time. You are never as invisible as you might feel. You are part of a larger story, one that continues to unfold with every life you touch. Part 7. The power of acceptance and embracing the now. As we grow older, perhaps one of the most profound realizations we come to is the power of acceptance. We learn to accept that things change, that life moves in cycles, and that we can no longer control everything. Aging is a natural process, one that we cannot outrun no matter how hard we try. But what we can control is how we respond to it. The ability to accept our reality, our bodies, our limitations, our changing relationships, and the passage of time becomes one of the greatest strengths we can develop. In our younger years, many of us spent a lot of time trying to control our circumstances. We fought against the aging process, striving to hold on to youth, beauty, and vitality. We sought to conquer time itself, constantly pushing forward, always striving for the next goal. But as we age, we begin to understand that there's wisdom in letting go. Instead of fighting against the inevitable, we start to embrace the present moment. We learn that life is not about holding on to the past or trying to maintain a certain image of who we once were. Life is about accepting who we are now and finding peace in that. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means making peace with where we are. It's about understanding that we've lived a full life, one rich with experiences, and that there is beauty to be found even in the process of aging. Accepting our limitations doesn't make us weaker. It makes us stronger. When we stop resisting, we find a kind of freedom. We stop measuring our worth by what we can do or how we look, and we begin to value the simple joys of being present, of enjoying the small moments, and of savoring the relationships that still surround us. Acceptance also means accepting that our time here is finite, and that's okay. Instead of fearing death, we start to view it as a natural part of the cycle, one that is simply the next step in the journey. We begin to let go of the need to control the future and focus on living fully in the here and now. Life is what we make of it today, not in some distant tomorrow. Perhaps one of the most liberating aspects of aging is the freedom to be ourselves without apology. As we get older, we shed the need to meet external expectations. We've lived enough life to know who we are, what we believe in, and what brings us joy. There's an immense power in embracing this version of ourselves, the one who doesn't feel the need to prove anything to anyone anymore. We no longer have to play by society's rules or conform to its standards. We can simply be, and in that being we find peace. So how do we embrace this phase of life? By making the most of each moment. By acknowledging the challenges and difficulties, but also recognizing the opportunities that come with them. The opportunities to connect, to share, to give, and to live authentically. To not let the fear of loneliness, illness, or death dictate our lives, but to live with intention and grace. To focus on what we can control, the love we give, the kindness we show, and the meaning we create in our remaining days. Embracing the now, accepting the realities of aging, is not about resignation. It's about stepping into the future with the wisdom and experience of the past, accepting what is, and making the best of what remains. When we embrace this truth, we find that we can continue to live vibrantly, fully, and meaningfully, no matter our age. Conclusion. The end is just a new beginning. As I reflect on all the years behind me, I find myself realizing that aging is not the end of life. It's just another beginning, a new phase, a new chapter, one filled with its own set of challenges, yes,
but also filled with new opportunities for growth, connection, and meaning. The brutal realities of aging can be hard to face, but they are also what make us stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The loneliness that sometimes accompanies this phase is real, but it's not insurmountable. We may face the empty rooms, the loss of friends, the fading health, but we also have the opportunity to fill those rooms with new rhythms, new joys, new connections, and new ways of looking at the world. We may fear becoming burdens or being forgotten, but the truth is that we matter more than we often realize. The love we've shared, the wisdom we've imparted, and the kindness we've shown all leave an enduring mark on the world, even after we're gone. Aging is not a punishment, it is a privilege. We are among the few who have lived to see the years that others have not. We've experienced the full arc of life, and that alone is a gift. But with this privilege comes the responsibility to live fully, to embrace each day, to cherish the relationships we still have, and to be kind to ourselves as we navigate the challenges ahead. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that aging is a time of decline, but in reality, it can be a time of renewal. A time to rediscover what truly matters, to focus on the present, and to let go of the past. It's a time to find peace with the changes that come, and to realize that we are still capable of living a life filled with joy, purpose, and connection. So, as you face the challenges of aging, remember that you are not alone. You are part of a greater tapestry, a community of others who have walked this road before you, and who will continue to walk beside you. The key is not to fear the inevitable, but to accept it, embrace it, and make the most of the time you have left. Every day is an opportunity, a chance to create new memories, to share your wisdom, to love and be loved. Aging is not a loss. It's a continuation of the story that began long ago. And in the end, when we look back on our lives, we won't remember the things we didn't do or the regrets we carried. We'll remember the love we gave, the lives we touched, and the courage we had to continue forward, despite the challenges. That is the true gift of aging, the chance to continue writing our own story no matter what age we are.